This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston. We're two sports reporters in Syracuse with a baseball podcast. We have a lot to talk about. Mets, Yankees, the Bats. What's going on?
What's happening?
But first, we just wanted to let you guys know about something. We were hoping to be able to promote this sooner. We're still not exactly sure what's going on, but this is the reality. Our boss is trying really, really hard to send us down to Citi Field for for Mets home opener. So if we are down there, we are going to do a lot of things, and we will have another episode this week if our boss says yes.
Yeah.
And we'll title it something like, We're going to Citi Field, so you'll know what it's about. But yeah, it's really exciting. He's hoping to put it together, but obviously, as we've discussed in the past, it's local news. There are limited resources, and it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
We're ready to go if they send us. If they do, we wanted to know if people would be interested in a meet and greet. I think that's something that would be really fun for us, right?
Yeah, if any of you guys are going to opening day, if you're going to be around the Citi Field opening weekend, we have no logistics yet. Like we said, nothing is confirmed. We are still in a holding pattern. But if we are to be down there this weekend, we would pretty much be down there on Friday, maybe even Friday night, Thursday night. We'll see what happens. But would people be interested in doing some kind of a meet and greet, whether it's something, near Citi Field, whether it's something more in like Manhattan or something? Just let us know if there's enough Mets fans that would want to do something like that. Talk about the Mets. Can be at a bar, can be super casual. Let us know. Let us know. We're gauging interest.
We're genuinely just trying to hang out.
If you don't want to hang out, that's fine. I won't take any offense. No offense taken.
But don't you want to hang out?
But I want to hang out.
I want to hang out. So yeah, we think it would be fun. Also, let us know any bars that come to mind. If there's a place that you think would be great for a couple of us to meet up.
Preferably in Manhattan.
Preferably in Manhattan, because that's probably where our hotel will be located. Please do let us know. We'd be really interested in it. But like I said, we'll let you guys know once we know that information. For now, we're just talking more Mets. Let's talk about opening weekend and some takeaways. There were some high quality starts, and I guess I'll just phrase it this way and then let you go. I think the things that people were nervous about, the question marks, were answered in a positive way. Good defense, good pitching, and the one thing that was supposed to be the Mets' big deal this year, the hitting, flopped. So there you go.
Yeah, Mets gonna Met. They hit us with the Uno reverse on opening weekend. Uno reverse. The Mets got three great starts from Canning, Tylor Megill, and Clay Holmes. They pitched to a combined ERA of 2.98 through those 3 games to start the year. So, of course, the Mets win one in Houston. They lose two. The bullpen. How about the bullpen? The bullpen's out here. Hasn't given up a run yet. They've pitched 9 2/3 innings. Haven't allowed a single run. The franchise record, by the way, to start a season is 12 2/3 innings without a run. So that's thanks to our friend of the program, Anthony Tacomo, for that little stat. Bullpen's been great. Pitching's been great. Offense has been absolutely asleep. I was texting my dad about it. He was like, it's cold. The bats will wake up. I was like, it's not cold in Houston. So I'm not interested in that excuse.
No. Well, yeah, the gaggle is gaggling.
The gaggle is overperforming. Give it up for the gaggle,
Claps
folks.
all around. Totally overperforming, and I agree. Listen, we kind of knew to expect it, right? You're looking up. I'm looking up at the end of the weekend, Lindor, realizing his batting average is a 0.
No hits. 0 for 11.
Pretty sure Alonso also no hits or close to it.
Possible.
Baty, big womp 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 so far.
Right.
It's a small sample size, but damn.
I know. I think what the Mets are built on and what they, all the hype coming into this season was that crazy 1 through 5 in the lineup, right? And we haven't really seen that yet. We saw Soto homer, Vientos had like a double in there, but definitely looking for the offense to get going against Miami this week, and then when they come home against the good old Blue Jays.
Yeah, listen, shout out to the Mets. They did get their first win of the season. Juan Soto hit his first home run as a Met. All of that was awesome. And credit to Juan Soto for all the pressure that he's had on him. He's like one of the only dudes who really is performing as advertised right now and really is hitting the ball.
Has been as advertised.
Yeah. So
it's that Luis Severino's, you have one good hitter. You have one good hitter.
Happy we have him. But you got to admit, obviously it's really early, but that last game losing 2-1, it sucked. It blew. You know, those are the kinds of games that obviously down the stretch and as we continue on, gonna have to win some of those. And then the Marlins, going against the Marlins, I'm needing 2 out of 3, or else I'm like minimum, or else I'm having a heart attack.
It's opening week, and we're having heart attacks. We need 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3. We need a sweep.
Yeah, we need something good here.
We need to get something going. Yeah, a couple takeaways from that. We'll just glance over the weekend games really fast. We touched on Thursday, opening day in our last episode. Friday, obviously the Mets get their first win. Still not a ton of offense, but like you said, Juan Soto, his first homer as a Met. That was nice to see. And oh boy, dare I say it, Tylor Megill had a really good start. I don't know, guys. I'm getting nervous. Tylor Megill, I mean, we all know how much we've talked about the gaggle. Not just Tylor, but the gaggle. Tylor's out here, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. I mean, what if, now this is April me talking, so what if anything? I will run this back in July and regret it, but what if, Tylor's kind of in the Brett Baty camp right now of what if this is the year Tylor finally puts it together? I don't know, he looked good. I know it's not the Houston of olds, but he looked really good. His slider looked good. I know that was kind of something that was discussed this offseason, how he had kind of revamped that pitch. It was like in the mid-80s. It had a ton of depth. It was kind of moving horizontal across the plate, fooling hitters, 6 strikeouts. I liked what I saw.
And I know what you mean, where like I feel like everything right now I'm kind of like this.
Well,
I don't want to say anything.
Dare I say I liked what I saw?
Oh no, but honestly, like it's okay to just admit when somebody had a good game. Like Tylor Megill.
Well, right.
Tylor Megill had a great game.
I mean, it's hard. I kind of like,
I
it's
understand,
tough to say.
But it's true. He's performing well, and honestly, I also, of course, was talking to my dad. Big Mike obviously has thoughts on opening weekend, the same way any father would, and he said that he feels like positive about the fact that the thing that's going wrong is the Mets bats right now, because that will improve.
Yeah.
Calm down. We all know that that's going to improve. We all know the way that all of these players have the potential to hit, especially the top of the lineup. Now, if you went out opening weekend and you realize the pitching is an absolute mess, we got problems, you know?
Yeah, I will agree with him that I think if the Mets went out there this weekend and had 3 starts that were clunkers, had a bullpen meltdown, I think fans would be in a much worse place than they are right now. You know the lineup's going to come around. You know the bats are going to come around at some point. I think this is a good place to start. Feeling cautiously optimistic and, dare I say, pleasantly surprised.
I agree, because honestly, if the pitching is a mess, what are you going to be saying? Oh, we're just waiting on Mania. Like, that's a month out. Like, we can't be in that hole right now.
No.
So yes, I would agree. Pleasantly surprised is the way I would say I left the weekend feeling, which seems kind of weird to say because they did lose 2 games.
Yeah.
But you can see the potential there. Maybe it is just having Juan Soto that's just enough to kind of string along my positivity. But for now, I am feeling calm and pleasant.
I agree. Calm and pleasant. Saturday, they lose the series finale. They got 1 hit, so that was what it was. Except Jose SIRI. Let me just take a beat on this because I was watching this game at home. Canning looked great, like we said. Pretty much made 1 mistake until he got through his 3rd time through the order, so that's just a beginning of the year thing. But Jose SIRI is out here creating runs. Top of the 6th, SIRI walks. He steals second base, gets to 3rd on a Lindor sac fly. And then he essentially stole home. He didn't actually steal home, but Soto hits this like weak chopper to the pitcher. The pitcher like looks SIRI back on 3rd, throws it to 1st, and SIRI just takes off and he's safe.
Yep.
I mean, how's that for creating runs? We're out here. That's why you sign a guy like Jose SIRI.
Like, he essentially created his own offense.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. That feels like an art form, and it felt like every single base was earned. Impressive performance from him. I completely agree. I think it was a good sign. But yeah, the point is the Mets still lost, so that obviously is something to keep in mind moving forward, is we're just going to need more hits, man.
We are going to need more hits, especially more than 1 a game. But you know what's always a good cure is the Miami Marlins. Dare I say the Marlins are 3-1, which is random, but they also opened the year against the Pirates. So we got Peterson tonight, Monday. We got Senga on Tuesday, Holmes again on Wednesday, which would conveniently line up Tylor Megill to start the Mets home opener on Friday.
Important to say that Lindor also did just have a child, his 3rd child, a baby boy, who was born this weekend. Absolutely, congratulations. His wife obviously was in labor during the time that he was out there not hitting so well. People did ask him about that. He said, "This is not my child's fault. This is not my wife's fault. This is on me, and I've been through this before." So appreciate that accountability. So yeah, congrats to him on that. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I know we were talking about his slow start. I'm just saying I might go over 11 too if my wife was in labor and I wasn't there.
And of course, knowing him, humble dude, somebody who takes accountability, so he's not going to say that, but like, that's stressful.
A lot on his mind.
Just saying.
A lot on Francisco's plate. And you know what? The last time he had a kid, then he started raking, so probably a good omen.
Yeah, not an excuse, but just something to keep in mind. So, yeah, obviously now the Mets are going to go ahead and face the Marlins. Before we move on from the Mets, Ashley also has a minors watch here.
Yes, the Syracuse Mets also started their season this weekend. Of course, top prospect Brandon Sproat. I'm sure if you guys are Mets fans, you know all about him, the organization's top prospect. He struggled when they called him up to AAA to end last season, AAA Syracuse, of course. And he struggled on Sunday. He had his debut, couldn't get out of the third inning, gave up 4 runs in 2 innings pitched, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Syracuse Mets lost the game 12-0. So that's a yikes. That's a clunker for Sproaty.
That's a womp womp womp.
Womp womp.
But again, back to the point. I really am going to try hard this year not to blow too many things out of proportion.
That's a good goal.
I'm going to try not to overreact. I'm going to try not to underreact. I'm going to look at the things as they come, see what happens after a couple weeks, and give everybody the benefit of the doubt until I see more. But yeah, obviously there are just certain concerns with certain players. Like, one thing that sticks out to me from a negative standpoint, just to go back to it for a minute, is even like Brett Baty, that's somebody who I feel nervous about right now. Like, I know he didn't have too many opportunities, but so far the opportunities he has had, he hasn't really performed. And on top of that, then when they end up putting Acuna back in, I'm forgetting right now which game this was, but there was one game where Brett Baty had a couple at-bats. They put Acuna in, and then he made a great defensive play, and I think it was the 8th inning, and then it was the game that they ended up going on to win.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff, if I'm Mendoza, I am looking at that you know what? Maybe the defense is valuable to have there instead of the offense,
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but I think for the Mets to start this season, right, what are your number one things you're looking at? Well, you're looking at the pitching. That's overperformed so far, we touched on, the starters and the bullpen. And then you have these veterans in the lineup who you know are going to perform at some point. So if I'm Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns, what else am I looking at? Kind of some of these other question marks. Your Brett Batys, your Acunas, your, in some senses, right, some guys in the rotation, Megill, Canning, Holmes. But you're looking at more of the question marks to be like, what's going to happen here? And you're also looking down to Syracuse, to Brandon Sproat. I don't want to make too much out of one start, but I know we saw him struggle when elevated to the AAA level last year. And Sproat's a guy I think many Mets fans, and I would go out on a limb to say the organization think will be up in Queens in midsummer. So Sproat obviously is a guy highly touted. They are very high on. They see joining this rotation, and maybe some of those gaggle guys kind of move to the bullpen as the season wears on. So there is going to be a Brandon Sproat watch down in Syracuse, I think, for the first few months of the season, and we'll be all over it. Don't you worry.
You know who else we didn't mention that deserves a little shout out?
Who?
Diaz brought heat.
Oh, Edwin was out there. He looked like Edwin.
Edwin looked like
that was some hard-hitting analysis. Looked like Edwin. Nice.
But he looks like retro Edwin. He looked like Edwin at Edwin's best, dare I say.
He's feeling like himself again.
Yeah, he was cooking.
Yeah.
He was cooking for sure. So that's somebody who, obviously I do feel that his performance ends up always being make or break for this team. So if he's in the make category, I'm all about it. We'll see how it all goes.
All about it.
Okay, beyond that, we're a little bit tight on time today, so expect us to be kind of moving swiftly through the categories. We got to talk about the Yankee Torpedo Bats. We just can't ignore it at this time. And honestly, we haven't discussed this off the air, so I don't know how you're feeling about this. Well, let's just lay out some of the facts.
Start from the top.
They are called torpedo bats. Essentially, I presume the reason why to be that it sort of looks essentially kind of like a bowling pin, and the wood is being moved to different parts of the bat based on the batter's stance. And it actually, each bat is designed specifically for each player who uses it so that the place where the bat is generally hitting the ball is aligning with the fattest part of the bat.
Yeah.
Fat bat. It was used, obviously, it sort of came out into the public sphere in the Yankees game against the Brewers, where they had how many home runs?
The Yankees were just on a different planet this weekend. I mean, the Yankees were playing on Mars and everybody else was back on Earth. The Yankees had 15 home runs throughout the weekend, 9 on Saturday alone, which was a club record. They scored 20 runs. Then Sunday they scored 12. I mean, I don't know how much of that is the bats, but interesting, coincidence.
Yeah, I'll say. The analyst who helped to design them worked with the Yankees from 2018 to 2024. He is actually now with the Marlins. He is no longer on the Yankees staff, but he's somebody who is getting credit now for designing these bats. He actually was brought on to the Yankees staff really more so in I heard this from John Boyd today on his podcast. He was not necessarily brought on in his like engineer capacity, even though he went to MIT and whatnot. But they did end up ultimately using him for that. He came up with this idea. Players started to try to use the bat, including Stanton, who apparently used it for some points of last year. So this actually is not as new as I think some people maybe think. But now there are 4 Yankees players who are using the bats this year: Anthony Volpe, Jazz Chisholm, Cody Bellinger, and Austin Wells. Not Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Aaron Judge had a crazy day. That has nothing to do with the bats, and that's important to note.
Yeah, I think Goldschmidt's using them too. There's a few of them that are out there using the bats, but 9 of those 15 home runs over the weekend were by guys using these bats.
So there's also that. I also think that it's important to note that the MLB at some point decided these were allowed, and they were used in spring training, and they are being used now. I think, what do you think? What do you think about all this?
Yeah. Major League Baseball reconfirmed on Sunday, yesterday, that they're legal because they're kind of taking everybody by storm. It's not even just the Yankees now. I heard a Braves player is getting one. I mean, expect to see these bats for as long as they stay legal.
Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers also used one.
Yep, they just basically redistribute the weight from the end of the bat towards really closer to the hitter's hands where they would normally strike the ball. So instead of getting jammed on some of those inside pitches, it's like bringing the barrel more towards where players are normally hitting the ball, which you might ask, oh, how is that legal to tamper with the bat? Well, MLB just has these dimensions for the bat. They say you get this much wood. We don't really care how you distribute the wood, it's basically a redistribution.
And let's actually back up, because I'm sure there also is, of course, a negative side to this, but let's just say something. We need to give credit to this dude who came up with this idea.
I know, the MIT physicist. Ooh.
Unbelievable. Crossover between MIT and sports. I mean, that is just a gorgeous idea.
Match made in
like,
heaven.
how did nobody even think about that sooner? Like, honestly, for the MLB to be like, there's just a certain amount of proportions, or we don't care how the weight is distributed. It could just be this amount of weight. And some guy comes up with this brilliant idea. To essentially make the bat fatter in the part where the ball would hit it. That's so smart.
The Yankees needed an upper, all right? Before I get into my thoughts on the bat, the Yankees needed an upper. It has been a tough couple of months in the Bronx. You lose the World Series. You look terrible against the Dodgers. Juan Soto's out here walking around flaunting the blue and orange over in Queens. Like, it has not been a good couple of months to be a Yankees fan, all right? So the Yankees said, well, what if anything? What if we just change the bats? The MIT physicist said, time to switch the bats.
Literally, what if anything was a person, it would be this MIT physicist.
The Yankees said, we need something, and we're going to change the bats, and we're going to hit 5,000 home runs to opening weekend, and now we're the Yankees again, and screw you all, we've always been the Yankees. That's what the Yankees said.
So what do you really think? What do you think about the bats?
My actual thoughts are, here's the thing. I think it's an interesting case because I think baseball, right, in the last 5 to 10 years has been dominated by pitching. Strikeouts are at an all-time high. Offense is at an all-time low. One of the biggest things that Commissioner Rob Manfred and, others throughout the sport are concerned about is the lack of hitting throughout the game. People like to go to baseball games to see home runs and exciting offense. A pitcher's duel is nice, but that's not why your average casual fan wants to go to a game. So to make games more exciting, there's been this lack of offense. It's been this whole thing. Does this solve that problem? Well, maybe. I mean, it could be an interesting piece to that puzzle, make the games a little more exciting. Is it legal? Yeah, Major League Baseball confirmed so yesterday. On the flip side of that coin, do I also think if everybody starts using these bats and scoring 12 runs a game, I mean, that's just not going to work. I don't know where they're going to draw the line in the sand if this becomes popular and many teams start using them and all of a sudden pitchers can't buy an out. That's going to be a problem. So I think it's interesting to see where some regulation might come in. I also don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
I know what you mean. Let me also just say the guy's name who did come up with this is Aaron Leanhart, just to give him some
Shout
credit.
out Aaron.
Yeah, I guess they call him Lenny. Shout out Lenny.
Awesome.
Truly has to just be an electric moment for him. Like, I can't even imagine him being like,
big one for
my
Lenny.
bat's worth. Like, that's so dope. I hear where you're coming from on both sides. Like, I know there are going to be a lot of people who blow this out of proportion. Listen, end of the day, they had a great hitting day. It is possible that the bats had something to do with it. I want to wait and sort of level my expectations and see. If all of a sudden the Yankees are hitting, 7, 8, 9 home runs every night, it's gonna
be
raise
a problem.
some concerns.
Yeah.
I'm in the business of fairness. I always have been. End of the day, this guy did not break any rules. He outsmarted the field. Now the Yankees have great bats. Like tough nuts. That's not anybody's problem.
We got to do something.
Yeah,
man. Dodgers are out here signing the world.
Right. But honestly, so I can't be mad at that. But to your point, I don't want to see it altering the sport too much. And if it is legal, then I think everybody should be doing it. If these bats are really making a big difference and they're helping hitters, then let's see the Mets get these bats. Let's see everybody start to get these bats so that, again, it just brings it back into a fair playing field. And for the record, I know people probably don't believe me when I say this, but I'd say that if it was the Mets too.
Yeah.
Like, end of the day, I wouldn't even, I'm just saying this as a former athlete. Like, if I had a bat that really was contributing some of my home runs, but nobody else had access to that, it doesn't feel like a fair fight. It's not even like a game I'd want to play. Like, I just like a game that feels fair.
Right. It's going to be interesting, definitely, because I think pitchers, if this becomes more popularized, are going to start to have a freak out, too. We even heard from Tylor's brother, Trevor Megill, actually on the Brewers this weekend. They got smoked, obviously, against the Yankees. And he already came out with a quote being like, basically, what is going on here? Like, these look like Little League bats. So pitchers are going to be disgruntled, probably rightfully so.
Yeah.
There's going to need to be some rules in place. This feels like the torpedo bats Wild West. They just came out. The Yankees are hitting 1 million home runs. Nobody knows what's happening. Something is going to need to change to, like you said, level the playing field.
Let's also say one thing that Director Paul also brought up before we even came into the room today, which is that Nestor Cortez was pitching that game. Mm-hmm. Like, there were other things that perhaps went into the Yankees' ability to have a good game here. They all know Nestor. That's an old friend.
Yankees might have more than 2 good hitters this year.
Also that. But obviously when you're going against a pitcher that you've been around that was formerly on your team, I would at least assume that obviously they understand his pitching style. They have hit off him in the past. I think that had something to do with it? Yeah. Also, like Aaron Judge being a part of that and just having a monster day. There are some things about this that did feel a little bit of a coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it all has to do with the bat, but yeah, to your point. It's like anything else. It honestly reminds me of even like NIL. It's just a matter of where you're going to draw the line.
Yeah.
What's fair, what's not fair. That's all.
Last thing I'll say on it, because I'm a Mets conspiracy theorist and I just have to get this out. Do I think that the narrative around it would have been a little different if it was a team other than the Yankees? Yes, I do.
Yep.
These torpedo bats come out and everybody's like, oh, the Yankees are hitting home runs. This is great. If it was, anybody else, if it was even the Dodgers or some other team, they'd be like, cheating. What is going on? The bats aren't allowed. That's all I have to say.
But it's funny that you say that because I actually do feel like some people did come out and kind of paint the Yankees as the villains for having this bat. Like, I almost feel like it was like, oh, typical Yankees. Now they have some sort of unfair advantage.
Of course.
So I really don't know how I feel about it. What I will say is I do sort of wish that if these bats were being used in spring training, and I guess if you're the Yankees, why would you make a big deal out of it and tell everybody? But it just seems like it sort of came out and the entire field knew about it at a weird time.
The Yankees had a little secret.
It felt kind of like a dirty secret to me. And I know they were using it in spring training or whatever, but why not just make that more apparent earlier so that everybody knows and now other people can get bats too? But like I said, if I was the Yankees and I had a brilliant idea and my bats were awesome, I wouldn't tell anybody either.
Totally agree. The Yankees aren't going to be like, hey guys, we figured something out. Right. Everybody should get these bats.
Hello? No way. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say on that. I guess we'll see. I think if it really, really changes the game and it is tanking pitchers' stats and everybody's using them and it is clear that baseball is too different because of it, then I honestly think that the MLB will just ban them.
I agree.
But
It'll
we're not
be
there
interesting.
yet.
We'll be back to the bats.
Yeah, we will. We will. Put a pin in that for now.
Yep. Circle back.
All right, last but not least, we got 2 minutes. We're going to talk about some Sasaki struggles. The Dodgers started 5-0.
I mean, no one's surprised. All right, the Dodgers are 5-0 because why wouldn't they be? Of course they are.
Of course they are.
But Roki Sasaki really struggling in his first couple starts here. His first one was in Tokyo against the Cubs earlier in the month. Then he had his first start at Dodger Stadium on Saturday. I mean, he just had no command. He's missing the strike zone out here by like a foot, throwing more balls than strikes. On Saturday, he got through an inning and 2/3, gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks through 61 pitches, only 32 of them for strikes. He's now up to 9 walks in less than 5 career innings in MLB because he walked 5 in his Tokyo start. Mm-hmm. He was a little bit better in that one, only gave up 1 run through 3 innings. But what really made headlines from this all, I don't even think people would have blown this out of proportion as much as they did, is he was then captured by TV cameras on Saturday at Dodger Stadium crying in the dugout after that meltdown. He only got through an inning and 2/3. Very sad. Very sad.
Wait,
really
that's
pulling
actually
at my
terrible.
heartstrings. Yeah, I think it's just a testament to, and I'm sure our Dodgers fans have more extensive thoughts on this. I mean, listen, the guy just got here. He's going through a cultural shift. He's lived in Japan his whole life. He's 23. Now he's out here facing major league hitters, thrown into this all-star Dodgers rotation where the expectations are about as high as they can be. I mean, even when he was shopping around for a team, some of the talk was, he kind of is emotionally a little less mature. Can he handle a big market team like this? His agent was saying that. Made the decision to go with the Dodgers. I don't think anybody was crucifying him for the crying. I think if I was a Dodgers fan and a baseball fan, I'm just looking at that feeling bad for the guy, being like, hope he turns it around. He has great stuff. He's probably going to be a star. He's 23. I'm sure it'll come around and he'll be fine. But yeah, really struggled through his first couple outings.
Yeah, like he's 23. Let's just humanize that story for a minute. Like
in a country that he has never lived in.
He is 23 and he just moved here. Like he's 3 years younger than me. And it's like if I was 3 years younger and moved to an entirely different country and didn't know anybody besides my teammates. That's just hard.
And don't speak the language, and it's
not to mention the language barrier, not to mention a million other things. Like that has to be legitimately extremely isolating. So genuinely just hoping things improve for him and that situation looks up for him. But 5-0. Can't feel too bad for you, Dodgers
for the
fans.
old Dodgers. I'm trying to feel bad for you. I'm like, taking things to try, but I can't try that hard. We'll talk to you guys later in the week. If we are going to go to opening day, you'll hear from us. We'll put out an episode, stuff all over social media. Also, something that someone had a suggestion for us that I just want to put out there before we wrap up. Kind of like a question of the week thing. If you guys want to write in the comments, like a question of the week, a topic of the week that we could answer on our next episode, let us know, and we will kind of look through them and hope to answer or talk about some of them.
Yeah, you guys crucified Twitter Spaces, but I think that's a good thing because it means that you really just don't want us there.
I'm not sure I want us there.
I know, that might have just been a bad idea, but that's why we have you guys to tell us that. But I love the idea of question of the week. It can be anything. Be creative, y'all.
Yeah.
It can be about baseball. It could be about our day jobs. It could be about what we do.
The Syracuse Mets.
Yeah, whatever it is that you want to talk about or hear about, let us know, and we will bring it on, and we're going to try to start that as a new segment beginning next week where we take one of your questions, we air it out on this podcast, and we talk about it. So give us your
lane,
best
though.
and greatest.
Stay in your lane.
That's her one warning. Y'all know what to ask and what not to ask. We'll see you back here when the next big thing happens. Hopefully, we'll be down in New York City this weekend. See you later.